We want to show you, by understanding the process, how to come into control with not just what you emanate, which is what deliberate creation is, but what you are observing in others and what they are emanating and what your response to them is. Really, what we're wanting to help you with is how to benefit from the magnificent others around you, and that includes all of them. How to benefit by those around you, which helps you in the launching of your desires, in the deciding of your desires, in the deciphering of your desires, in the sorting and sifting of life experience, in the launching of your desires. In fact, all of them help you in the creation of that which is you. So we want to show you how they help you in the launching of your desires, but then what happens next? So we call that step one. When life causes you to ask for something and you're asking for more all day, every day, the source energy part of you, who is intimately involved, aware of what life is causing you to ask for, not dictating it to you, not telling you what it should be. You've got free will. You are here to create. You are here to have a new experience with new contrast in order to create new things. That's what we all signed on for. And your part is sift and sort and decide, and our part is, we're the step two part. Once you launch a rocket, we acknowledge it, we acclimate to it, we become a vibrational match to it, and we become your strongest point of attraction. Because we are consciousness that is you also. So when you ask, we become the vibration that allows that asking to be answered. In other words, we hold to that vibrational frequency, and we emanate a signal so much stronger and so much bigger than you can even fathom. You don't even know the benefit that your inner being offers to you in the perpetuation, in the furthering of your desires. When you say, I'd like that, we say, we are on it. And further, unlike you, we're never off of it. We never lose focus with what you have become. We hold steady to the furthest most whatever it is that you have asked for and you have become. You, on the other hand, we love you so much, you deviate all over the place because you're not seeking mutuality with your desire and with us who has found mutuality with your desire. You're looking around to see what other humans think about it. How do you like me now? 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 Not that much. Can you change a little more for me? If you'd be different, you'd be perfect. That's what you keep saying to each other. I just need a slightest little adjustment from you. And as soon as you make it, then they need another slight little adjustment. And then you make that, and then they need another slight little adjustment. And before you know it, you don't feel like you have free will because you've given it away to what somebody who is never going to be pleased. Not really. Not if they're looking for love in that place. If they're looking for their harmony with the changes that you're willing to make for them, good luck. That's never going to work out well. But if life causes you to ask for something and your inner being holds focus on that, and all the cooperative forces are moving toward the expansion and evolution of that desire, and you are aware of what influence you are under. Are you under the influence of your inner being who's with you in what you desire? Or are you under the influence of old beliefs that you've picked up along your physical trail? Or are you under the influence of what other people think about you who aren't even that interested, or who don't really understand, or who want you to be a little different so that they will feel a little better? In other words, what influence are you under? Esther has just received back from the printer something that she knows you all want. She loves hers. She thought about making it a bumper sticker, but she doesn't really like things stuck on her car. And she didn't think it was a good idea for you all to run around with a bumper sticker that says, under the influence. So instead, it's a dash card that when you look at it, you can't read it because it's all backwards. But when you lay it on your dash, or if you don't have a car in front of a mirror, it reflects back on your windshield and you can read it, under the influence. And it causes you maybe to think, what influence am I under? Am I under the influence of my inner being who's with me, who was with me when I was born, who's been with me all along, who has received from me everything that I've asked for and has become the evolved vibrational form of everything that I've asked for, and is standing in this vibrational universe emanated signal of everything that I've become, so that I can feel the relationship or the relativity between the vibration of that large part of me and the vibration of this human part of me. And you know how you feel that relativity? You know how you understand that relationship? By the way you feel. If you feel satisfied, you're right in harmony with your inner being. You are one point of attraction and everything is lining up for you. And when the things line up, you receive them, you hear them, you receive the impulse, you move in the direction of them. You are frisky, you are flexible, you feel wonderful, you're thriving, you're living happily ever after. But if you're under the influence of something other than that, if you're trying to please someone else, sometimes it works out for a little while when someone in human form is tuned in, tapped in, turned on. They're all in alignment with who they are and they're holding you as their object of attention. Oh, it feels so good to you because they are sort of like a source energy beamed down from a satellite dish, and there they are in human form holding you as their object of attention. But don't count on them to stay there. They can't do it. It's not their job to do it. They're not as interested in you as you want them to be. You're not their job. They are their own job. And so when you find someone, no matter how lovely they are, and you ask them, you've got responsibility to stay tuned into whatever it is, so that anytime you look at me, you give me what I need. Good luck with that. And when they don't, then you blame them. And then they blame you back. And then you blame them back. And then they blame you back. And then you blame them back. And then, fortunately, you go to sleep and you break this cycle of all of that. Then the question is, when you wake up the next morning, do you pick up those old beliefs that are in your way? You're getting the gist of this, aren't you? So we want to talk about, what influence am I under? Am I under the influence of my inner being? If I am, I feel really good. Or am I under the influence of something else? And you can tell it in this very simple way. This is such a wonderful distinction. When you feel satisfied, think about satisfied. Satisfied is not really an emotion that has a lot of momentum around it. It's not like ecstasy. It's not like enthusiasm. It's not like bouncing off the wall enthusiasm. It's not like passion. It's not even like love or appreciation. It's satisfaction. It's soft and gentle, and it holds no resistance. And because it holds no resistance, it can't stay that soft and gentle. It's going to pick up momentum for sure. It's going to move into faster moving energy, and it's going to feel more and more powerful and more exhilarating and more exciting. So think about satisfaction or dissatisfaction or unsatisfied. Really a fine line, but if you can figure out the difference, then you will know more and more whether you are encouraging law of attraction to respond to something that's going to get feeling better and better and better and better and better and better, or whether you are allowing law of attraction to respond to something that's going to get feeling worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because law of attraction is responding to whatever you are offering vibrationally, and it will become more. That's just how it works. Some years ago, we wrote a book called Ask and It Is Given. Really a good book. Because when you ask, it is given. You just don't know it. We've been explaining what we mean by it ever since. When you ask, it is given. We just gave you a really good explanation today of how it's given. But just because it's given, just because it's revealed, doesn't mean you let it in, doesn't mean you receive it, doesn't mean you realize it. Because you might have a vibration going on, and even though it's being given and given and given and given and given, you miss it, because you're looking for love in all the wrong places. You're not looking for it sometimes where it is. Sometimes you are. We don't want to make it sound like all of your beliefs are in your way. Many of them are helping you in so many ways. But we do want you to figure out how to differentiate between what beliefs are under the receiving mode of your source and what beliefs are under the receiving mode of something else. And if you will start paying attention. So in this book, a big premise of this book was the emotional guidance scale. And it starts with emotions that don't feel so good. Sometimes we talk about not feeling good emotions as being down here, like depression and fear, all the way up through frustration. And right in the middle is contentment, which is what Esther translated our now satisfaction word into at that time. Contentment was the word she found. Today we're saying satisfaction or satisfied, but we mean the same thing by it. All the way up to feeling appreciation and love and all of those good feelings, emotions. Sometimes we move the scale this way, sometimes we move the scale this way. Doesn't really matter. We just want you to know that there's a scale and that you can feel where you are on it. So if you are aware that right in the center where it's easy, it could go either way. Esther remembers going to San Francisco, seeing those streets. She couldn't believe cars drove on them. She couldn't believe they drove up. She couldn't believe they drove down. And because it got such attention of hers, it was such an impressive experience for her that first time and second time and third time and last time. We gave her an analogy about that. We said, imagine being at the top of that hill. You can see the bay way down there, straight shot right into the bay. Imagine taking your parking brake off, taking your car out of gear, and deciding that you're going to give yourself a little physics lesson just to see what would happen if you just pushed your car forward just a little bit. So you get out behind it and you shove it just a little bit. It's hard, but not that hard. And as you push it, with very little, far less than you'd think, pushing, it starts to gather momentum. But you're really, really smart. And you know what momentum means in terms of physics and gravity and inertia. So you decide you've changed your mind. You don't like how this idea is shaping up. So you catch it early and you just step right out in front of that car and it bumps you a little bit, but it stops because you caught it early in the momentum. But you wouldn't want to be at the bottom of that hill stopping that car. In fact, you might be at the bottom of the hill, but you wouldn't be stopping that car. And so that's what we want you to think about what satisfaction is. It's right there where you can stop it if it's moving into dissatisfaction, or you can promote it into satisfaction. You have control at those early stages that later the laws of the universe won't let you have. The law of gravity, the law of inertia, and the law of attraction. None of those laws will let you have that kind of control once it gets going. Until you sleep, and when you sleep, or meditate, and when you meditate, the momentum stops, and now you can begin to exercise your control again. Helpful? Yeah. We're going to be talking a lot about that here today as we're moving forward. We're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. Don't worry about us. We will wedge our message in the crack. And it is our expectation that together that you will discover some beliefs that you hold that are in your way, that you didn't know were in your way because you were not evaluating them by whether they feel satisfying or unsatisfying. You were not evaluating them by whether they were helpful to you or hindering to you. You are not evaluating them by whether they let your desires move freely down a path of least resistance, or whether they hinder your creation and put a lot of resistance on your trail. You are only evaluating them by their longevity, by how many other people believe them. You were seeking mutuality with others. Well, this is what my mother said, and it's what my father said, and it's what they always taught me, so it's what I say. Somebody who was wiser, or it's what I concluded erroneously when I had an experience and I came to that conclusion because I didn't have the bigger picture. And so with very short-sightedness, I came to a conclusion that doesn't serve me, that doesn't blend with the laws of the universe, that doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form, but I just keep updating it. It happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago that thing happened to me, and I talked about it 19 years, 18 years, 17 years, 16. I talked about it yesterday, in fact. I keep updating it. I keep it active in my vibration, and it's still in my way, and I know it's in my way because it never feels good when I think about it. It always feels bad when I think about it. It always hinders me every time. I get that lump in my stomach, and if I don't do something about it, then it goes down and it rolls right into the bay, and then I've got that to deal with.